this is Gwen Girl.
And this is AnnRenee.
Hey. So we're coming to you with Aha Podcast, the Reflective Perspective 2021. So it's been a minute since we've been on the scene, but we came to you with our new series called The Impact of COVID-19, Life Reimagined. Angie?
Hey. So we've been experiencing something these last 10 months. And as Gwen Girl and I started talking about it, we had a lot to share. We had a lot of perspective, and truly in discussing it, it was really about reimagining what life is, was, and the future of it. Because I think this pandemic, the ramification of it anyway, will be with us a while. If not in the exact way it is with us today. So we thought if we're having all these feelings and thoughts and perspectives, that it would be a great thing to share with you guys and get some feedback, some interest, some output, some input, and see where we all are and how we can all be our best selves.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're doing today. So
Absolutely.
Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, so there were three particular areas that seemed to jump out in the conversations we were having. The first area was relationships, the awareness of humanity. The second area was the isolation of it all and the power of human contact. And the third area was the uncertainties, the relevance of now. So, without any further ado, I think we're going to try and tackle relationships, the awareness of humanity. And so for me, one of the ways this kind of showed itself was in my awareness of gender in a different way. And so being a self-professed, strong Black woman, I'm used to doing what we do. And so in going about my everyday life, when COVID hit, I found myself really my strongest role became a nurturer, if you would, the mother of my children, taking care of my elderly mom, and just really securing and establishing my home, against this thing that we had never seen in our lifetime. And for me, again, I just did what I normally do. It's like I'm going to shore up everything, make sure everybody's safe and aware. And when it came to my feelings about this whole thing, I talked to my other girlfriends. It was like, girl, what do you think about this? How you feeling? All of that. But I found that I wanted a male perspective. And that was a bit unusual for me in terms of just thinking out aloud, well, God, what are men thinking, during this time? And so then, being a single woman, it wasn't like I had a husband in the house to kind of weigh in on, who was helping me, just do those things that I said, making sure the fam is safe. I was the one out doing the groceries. I'm listening intently, to the news, trying to just figure out how to navigate this thing and be safe. And so, again, it just was just a strange thing, as a bold topic. Oh my goodness, I wonder what men are thinking at this time. And so
that's interesting. And I wanted to just jump right in, because when Gwen Girl shared that with me, I was thinking, wow, that was not a thought that I had. And it's not to say I wasn't interested. It was just like, That's why we're bringing you these different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Because my lifestyle is a little differently. I live alone. I have a son who's away in school. And so I just went all in. It's really, it's almost been head down,
butt up.
All in,
head down, butt up.
True that. All in with the work that seems to never stop. People seem to think working at home means you somehow now have 36 hours in a day. So it was, I didn't have opportunities to just come up, almost like grasp air and go back down. So I just wanted to say I'm really interested in hearing this perspective about I wonder what the men are saying and thinking. So yeah, I just wanted to interject that.
Yeah, good point. And so then I have a lot of, male friends, be it work relationships, um, brothers, sister kind of relationships, those things. And I must say, I was pleasantly surprised at some of the responses, and then just shocked and appalled at others. And so then I'll start with the shocked and appalled. I found that some were very, very, very selfish. It was an every man for himself kind of thing. It was, a bit cavalier when, talking about the dangers. There was a lot of denial. It's like, I don't know what these people talking about. If it's gonna get you, it's gonna get you. Kind of, there was a lot of. I felt like it was false bravado, but it really wasn't safe. They were. Frightened, and I mean, and not,
Sounds like fear. That sounds like fear.
yeah, they were frightened, and and not to make light of that, because this was and is a frightening experience, but the inability to just truthfully say, I'm I'm afraid, or I'm not sure, what's going on. I'm concerned, which some of those things, just I'm concerned, might be a better languaging for men who are kind of, taught to that, it's not an attractive thing to show a woman that you're afraid, so, but, their inability or refusal or just a downright fear, uh, left their families vulnerable, and that was interesting because some of these guys were in fact, married men, and they were just, checked out of the entire process. And so I asked questions about, their girlfriends or wives, depending on what the situation was. It's like, what does so and so say about this? And it's just like, well, she's just doing what she do. I'm just hoping I can keep a job, because I keep my job, and put money in my house and all of that. And I remember thinking, oh my God, the females must be so alone, and
I was about to ask that question. Wow.
yeah, the females must be so alone because um here I was, you know, just really contemplating the fact that there wasn't a male in the house that I could have these conversations with, which is what again, it was, I really believe that it was spiritual for me because I just don't think like that. I am not lonely. I am not desperate. I believe that I am more aware and present to my life than I've ever been before. And so it's a great headspace because I'm really conscious about taking care of myself emotionally, being balanced so that when I am in pursuit of relationship in that way, I want to be my best me, because then I'll make better decisions about how I occur in those relationships and just what I want to be. So like I say again, interesting. And so then that was the kind of bad part of it. And then the parts where I was just excited, I had my male friends who were now shifted into, this has really gotten real situation. And they became more aware of their families, their wife, girlfriend, responsibility. They were having conversations about working together. They had conversations with me about, a lot of them, about things they hadn't noticed about what it takes to run a house. And that was interesting and exciting because our city shut down, I think, March 14th. And not only was there a stillness in the streets, I mean, there were no cars moving. There was a stillness in the house too, because if you weren't in good communication, if you would, with your other half, the tension was noticed, almost immediately, because now you're not talking at people, you're talking to people. I have teenage boys in my home who are gamers. And so the ability to not have to go to school and game, for them, this was a coup. I mean, life couldn't have been any better,
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say about the relationships in the house, the male female relationships in the house. A lot of what were our distractions were taken away.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking about my mornings when I would, particularly when my son was younger and we would get ready to go to, he was getting ready to go to school, I was getting ready to go to work. That is a lot of movement
Yes.
in the morning. That's so
Yes.
you're hitting things quickly. You're always about that time, so
Right.
it's a lot of those distractions: running around, getting dressed, doing your morning routine, trying to get something to eat if you can, getting in the car, let's get to work, let's get to school. All of those distractions gone. So
Right.
it is just, and again for the coming home, in the rush hour. Once you get from the rush hour, rushing around, trying to get dinner, check homework, making sure everybody has everything done they're supposed to do, getting in the baths, getting to bed on time. So all of that running around, that movement, those things that can distract us when we're talking past each other, gone. So now
Absolutely.
it's just these people in this house with each other in each other's spaces for 24 unrelenting hours a day. That's a lot.
Absolutely a true that. And so then that was one of the second points that we noticed, that having another person to share space, especially if you are a person who is relationship minded. So all of the distractors that AnnRenee just so beautifully laid out. Now these things have been slowed down because your routine is more like clockwork, but with less filler in the middle. And so now there's a silence that is deafening, because I remember just walking outside and hearing nature so loud that I'm like, what the hell is going on? That now there were birds with an S. And I know there were birds with an S of different species, because the sounds, there was chirping, there was caulking, there was hawking, all of this stuff. And so, as loud as nature was, it was equally as silent, in my home, And so then, again, having my teenage boys who were hashtag checked out due to living their best life, with with no school, and 24-hour gaming. My news hawk of a mother was glued to the television. And so she now wants to have conversations to process her fears. And again, to tie in where I started, I wanted to have conversations with a male counterpart. I wasn't necessarily looking for conversations with my mother. And even as I'm listening to what I was really feeling and getting a better understanding of it, I was looking for a symbol of power and strength in an unseen time. I was looking for an ally. I wasn't looking for a rescuer, but I was looking for an ally. And so even having my mother, who is a wise woman, and you can get points from her. And I'm telling you, honestly, one of the most intelligent people I know, because she has range and depth. I also looked at her age and her physicality, and it did not represent power. And my instinct was I needed power. I wanted to align myself with power. And so it occurred in my spirit as a male counterpart, So again, not trying to get a man in the house or anything, but I wanted perspective. So what are they thinking? Because if they know something I don't know, if their natural makeup is now bringing up thing that must be done, or whatever, then I wanted to hear it so that I too could do that thing. I was painfully aware of how different our wiring is, but our different wiring, if you're a hetero person, that is the thing that attracts us to one another. And so I was looking for, the thing that I might be missing that would be so necessary, in a time that we had never seen before. And again, like I said, that was interesting to me because that's not my normal processing. I do what I do, I get it done, So again, it was a powerful it was a powerful feeling for me, and I really, the way I took care of that need was to really interview my male friends, have conversations, just to check in to make sure that there was some balance in me. And I think what
And to
really,
see if you could glean anything from those conversations. Maybe,
absolutely,
just
absolutely,
like you said, maybe there's some things you'll drop in this, some pearls of wisdom or some this introspective or something that I hadn't touched on that'll help me.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so then even in having those conversations, it was mutually inspiring, uh my ability to openly talk about my fears and call it fears gave them the ability to, admit that there were fears on their part and not feel somehow, less than because, oh, this woman knows I'm afraid. And it just I think it for me it opened up um how we view relationships. And I just, for me, the greater work for me is always when I see these things, kind of checking in with myself to see how I line up. And so I had a couple of opportunities really just to see, reflect on historically how I've not partnered as well as I could have.
Wow.
I mean, really, because again, I started off, I do it how I do it, and
Right.
and I
Right.
saw how, you've heard about quiet strength. I'm pretty much a bull in a china store. I mean, really, and
Right. Yeah.
so that's one of the things. All you available men who are listening, I've contained that bull. In fact, it has been removed from the china store, even though there are vestiges of the damage still present. But
Hey, sha ta ta ta.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. But yeah, there was a regard for the I guess the tender side. There was a regard for, wow, there's a lot of things we assign to men, either consciously or subconsciously. And so then it just made me more aware to holding space for those tender things we say we want in our man, because that's a big conversation we can have with our mouths, but how we just naturally maybe move against that if we don't trust their leading. Um, we do damage both genders, that sometimes we don't know. So I think this pandemic gave me a better regard for how we do, those male female relationships. And again, any of the relationships you have in your house. I had the ability to take a trip. We took a cruise in February, right when the pandemic was not here yet in terms of a known thing. And so this on this cruise, my sons and I, we bonded in a different way. This was the first trip we had ever taken where they were truly, young adults, really responsible, that I did not have to micromanage any part of their trip. And so we got to enjoy a lot of things up close and personal. I think they got to see me as a woman because they saw some of my interactions. and more than their mother. And I saw them as young men that would probably be leaving me in a couple of years. And so I remember saying, wow, this was the best trip ever and the best timing ever. And then to tie it into the conversation, when the pandemic rolled around, I was so grateful for the resetting of our relationship that happened on that cruise, because even though I am serious when I said they're now living their best life ever, there was intimacy that happened that allowed us to see one another and be with one another in our space at home in a different way. They were now coming in my room, when they take a break, and really just kind of checking in. Just they were more sensitive to me. And pre-COVID, I don't think that was the thing. I was just, the mom who got it done for them. And I mean, they loved me, but you know what I'm saying? They weren't paying attention to me. So then that really helped in this space, because I didn't take my frustrations out on them, because
Right.
again, I'm, you're aware now because the silence is deafening in the house. So you're aware of that. So I was really grateful for that it was a thing that helped that relationship. And then
I
even
would
with,
imagine a lot of people would have, if they had known, would have loved that opportunity you got to experience with your
right,
boys.
right. And then the I think the richest thing about that was that though we travel a lot, that was a pop-up trip. It was in my spirit, just I woke up and it's just like, I needed to take a trip with the boys, and we did it all very quickly. And what I wanted was not available, and I decided I was going to back out on it. And then it was just so hard in my spirit. It's like, well, I think this is what God is telling me I need to do. And I got up, and the very thing that was denied was now available, and I booked it. So, I just kind of like, okay, whatever, not knowing that this was a gift I was being given for what was yet to come. So I am grateful for even honoring, what I believe God put in my spirit for such a time as this. And so then, with my mother, um, she needed more, and I had to really look at the mother-daughter relationship that I had prior to COVID. And in caring for my mother, I had realized that I was a dutiful daughter. And she really, and what a dutiful daughter looked like to her was I had become Nurse Ratchet. And so Nurse Ratchet was ticking boxes. Have you taken your medication? You need to eat, all of these orders that I was giving her. And it never seemed to be enough. And my mother was looking for her daughter. And so with COVID bringing my day-to-day life to a screeching halt, I realized that what I thought was great caregiving was just really ticking boxes. And so I had to sit with that. So, it was just interesting how, I was challenged in that area. It was very personal to me and very emotional, because again, it was just a part of, like AnnRenee had said, the list of things, we do. So, do this, do that, and I realized that I was not being the best companion I could be for my mother either. So, learning a balance with all of that. So, it was just mind blowing to me, just how I got a chance to view relationships. And even on a comedic side of it, my dog was aware of the fact that I now had all of this time on my hands, and she began following me around the house, because you're just like, if I could speak her dog mind, I was like, oh my God, she's here, and so it was up and down the steps. And then you hear all of the, I turn around because it's this pitter patter and she's trying to keep up with me. And I realized that she was sensitive to something that was happening, you know, both indoors and outdoors. Being outdoors, she was aware that nature had shifted, all of these sounds, and she's running. And, I mean, I just saw a difference even in a dog that was now aware that something had changed. So, that was really powerful for me. And I don't know, AnnRenee, do you have any more to add to that?
Not really.
Okay, okay,
Truly, you've been laying out some fantastic stuff. Truthfully, I guess I too become a listener.
okay,
So it's
okay.
been fascinating, and I guess not about the in the in-house relationships, because there's just me,
Hmm.
and so even in the pandemic, I find that I am extremely hilarious. I'm quite entertaining. I'm funny. I laugh at my own jokes. I can dance to my own music. I'll sing my songs. I'll dance. I'm the DJ.
Hmm.
So, truthfully, I had, and that's really what in my own space was was being my own counsel even more than I tend to be,
Hmm.
which is something I have to watch, because I can become isolated, and then this pandemic was an isolated space.
Hmm.
And so
Absolutely.
most of my interactions were with people with whom I work, and it was about work. And
Hmm.
so at the end of the workday, I had little else um, to say. I didn't even want many conversations, and it was just like breaking out in order to just rest, so that you can gear up for the next work day.
Right, right, right.
So that's really when I said it was just really keeping my head down. That's exactly what I meant. So
Yeah.
I can talk a little bit more about that at on our next podcast. But
Absolutely, absolutely. So then, I think I'm gonna handle the aha moment, and I pretty much talked about it, but to put it in a nutshell, my aha moment, I will say it this way, was what the end of the world mating and other relationships actually look like. Um, this pandemic presents an end of the world scenario. Um, and I think thinking about our relationships and how we move in them, because putting things to the side, what you have, your house, your car, all of those things, this pandemic is not a respecter of persons. It has stricken the poor, the rich, the wise, the foolish, the philanthropist, the beggar. There is not a single um, person or personality that has not been touched by COVID. And so the resources that we have are important, but our source is the thing. And so then looking at where you are spiritually, what you're open to, the most valuable thing, commodity, is humanity. And so then my aha moments are wrapped around how I occur in humanity, um, how I respect what it means, how I become connected in a way that is beyond my selfish desires and needs, how I honor who we were meant to be. So it has given me an opportunity to view humanity in a bigger space in all the ways that I engage in it. So this has been Gwen Girl,
and AnnRenee.
hoping you've had a reflective perspective. See you next time.
And just a little just a little bit of a teaser. Our next conversation, we're continuing with Life Imagined in this COVID-19 world, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the isolation I was talking about, and for me, the power of that human contact. So it's truly is a continuation of the conversation, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.